Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Jordan Peterson has slammed Candace Owens over on X, calling her a Pharisaical pretender, meaning she's a hypocrite, she's a charlatan, and she's a grifter, one of the ultimate grifters out there. And also talking about the hypocrite type and referring to the Pharisees. And the Pharisees said one thing, did another thing usually, or they would say one thing thinking they knew everything, but turns out they didn't know a thing. Because when they would challenge Jesus, Jesus would oftentimes put them in their place. Someone like Candace Owens, right? She needs to be put in her place. She claims to be a Christian. She claims to be a follower of Christ, albeit she claims to be Catholic. And I think there's a difference there, but I won't get into that today. But she claims to be a follower of Christ nonetheless. Now, the Bible clearly states that by your fruits ye shall know them. And I have been seeing of late that Candace Owens is producing rotten fruit, which leads me to think, well, is she truly a born-again Christian? Is she truly someone that is following the teachings of Jesus? Because if she was truly following the teachings of Jesus, she wouldn't be saying the things that she's saying. She would be defending the Christians that are being persecuted by Muslims all over the world at the moment. But you know why she's not defending the Christians? Not only because she hates Israel and she thinks that Israel is responsible for persecuting and killing Christians all over the world, especially in Syria. And she's more than happy to tell everyone that she told you so, even though it's not about that at all. Even if she did warn us or tell us back then, it is not your place to go, I told you so, there, I'm done. That's just boastful. That is pride, clear as day. And honestly, I would expect more from someone like Candace Owens. But to be honest with you all, I have come to not expect much, if anything at all, these days with Candace. And that's why Jordan Peterson has slammed her in a post over on X, which is absolutely fantastic, which we'll get to in just a moment. But you know the reason why Candace Owens won't criticize Islam, she won't stick up for or defend Christians over in Syria, the Congo, Nigeria, and other places in the world. You know why she won't have anything negative to say about the Muslims that are doing this to her fellow brothers and sisters? Because she's scared. The vast majority of people in her audience, believe it or not, happen to be what? Muslims, happen to be supporters of Palestine, because she's gone so far against Israel. Lots of people in her audience, I saw, like even on X, heaps of people on X follow Candace Owens that happen to be Muslims. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? If you are a Christian or you claim to be a Christian and you criticize Islam, you're the devil. You're done. Muslims will go after you, man. That is their peaceful religion. They will come after you. They will make sure that you don't ever criticize Islam at all. You don't say anything negative about Islam. And that's why Candace Owens has said nothing. You saw what happened with Jordan Peterson. The Muslims went after him, man. Anyone that criticizes Islam at all, they come after you. It's like it's with a vengeance. Let's just say that. And they claim to be the peaceful religion. Yeah, right. They're proving everyone's point that they're not peaceful at all. Anyway, Jordan Peterson goes to Candace Owens. Candace Owens, a true Pharisaical pretender, a hypocrite. She ferociously proclaims a devotion to Christ for no other reason than to elevate her perceived status. Status game. I'm a Christian. Look at me, Christians. I am also a conservative, but my value system, albeit a vast majority of it, doesn't actually represent conservatism. You may be against trans. Okay, I'm against trans, but you're against Israel. I'm not against Israel because I happen to believe that Christ is king of the Jews. And I still believe to this day that the Jews are God's chosen people. He's coming back for them one day. And the Jews are playing a huge role in the end times. The Jews all over the world are returning home because that's the only place they feel safe. You know why? Because the world is slowly but surely turning its back on God's chosen people. And you're starting to see more and more of these self-proclaimed Christian types like Candace Owens that go against Israel, calling all of them bad. Oh, Zionism is apparently bad. The ones that think they're the pure kind of Jew, right? She goes against all of it. She says that because there's a couple of bad apples, then the whole pie is ruined, right? Everything is ruined because all Jews are bad. Jews are apparently responsible for pornography. Jews are apparently responsible for human trafficking. Jews are apparently responsible for literally everything, and they've got their hands in literally everything. A small little nation in the Middle East is responsible for literally everything. They're responsible for blackmail everywhere. They're horrible, according to Candace Owens. She's found out all this stuff. From going from working for Jews to now being completely against them. And it's amazing to me how she's even defended a Muslim man recently. I made a video about that yesterday. The Muslim man supports terror. What does that tell you about her? Is she really for America? Is she really for Christianity? Or is she for, let's see, is she for Muslims? Because the vast majority of her audience are Muslims. Is she for herself because it makes her status a lot higher? Her outrage is designed not to shout the truth from the rooftops, as the truth according to Candace, build bridges or make peace, but to subvert Christianity itself with its new force to her own purposes. That line right there was brilliantly said by Jordan Peterson. Subvert Christianity itself with its new force to her own purposes. Whatever she wants Christianity to look like in her eyes, and that is wrong. She is committing one of the worst sins. I know, like, all sin is bad, but the Bible clearly states you should not use the Lord thy God's name in vain. What is she doing? She's using God's name in vain to pretty much prop up her own name. By saying Christ is king, you're showing the world, oh yeah, Christ is definitely king, but you're also propping your own name up. And you only do that when you want. You only do that when it's to attack the Jews. She literally is using God's name in vain, like Jordan Peterson said. There are few more unforgivable sins. Christ said that the one sin that he's never going to forgive is the rejection of his son. If you reject God's son, he's not going to forgive that. Jordan Peterson also goes, the narcissists, hedonists, and psychopaths occupy the fringes wherever they can obtain power and, using God's name, attempt to subvert the power of the divine to their own devices. A warning: not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. This is quite interesting because Jordan Peterson, I still don't know where he stands on being a believer, but if you're referencing that and you're talking about Candace claiming to be a Christian as well and you're rebuking her, I seem to think that Jordan Peterson knows a lot more and is somewhat in line with Jesus's moral compass than even Candace Owens, who claims to be a follower of Christ. I don't know where Jordan Peterson stands on being a believer, believing in the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, but he knows the Bible and he knows moral standings, moral foundations. Have a watch of this. So the term Christ is King has been important to American faith for generations, not just American faith, but all over the world. Christians will use this, uniting Christians under a shared set of values, and that's a great thing. But a stunning report by the NCRI IO shows that this familiar term is being misused by extremists to manipulate Christians. Have a watch of the video.
Since the advent of Christianity, Christ is King has been a cry for connection to the divine, a declaration of faith, a moving signal between Christians of their shared values. But what happens when it becomes a manipulation tactic designed to deceive Christians? Mentions of Christ as King have increased fivefold on platforms like X in just the past 4 years. At first glance, it would seem hopeful as people begin to reinvestigate faith in the face of increasing secularization and chaos in the world. But the NCRI, an organization at the forefront of monitoring deep trends in data, observed a striking and nefarious development around the phrase Christ is King beginning in 2021. In 2024, more than 50% of all engagements around Christ is King posts were driven by extremist influencers. The word extremist gets used a lot, and many are understandably skeptical at its use. But we're talking about people like this.
I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money.
Catholics and Christians were going missing on Passover, then they would find bodies, and they were able to trace them back to Jews. Blood libel.
Real Africans, on average, have an IQ of 65.
Posts like these achieved over 13.6 million views and more than 100,000 engagements during Easter 2024 alone. While co-opting the phrase for their toxic narrative, figures like Candace Owens and Jake Shields repeat hateful blood libels. And shockingly, by 2024, the most frequently associated term with Christ as King was the word Jew. The intent is clear: manipulate well-meaning, faithful Christians into having their beliefs tethered to psychopaths. This is nothing short of diabolical. We're caught watching Christ is King being taken by the supremacist right more and more each day. These connections matter. The spiritual, the linguistic, the interpersonal. They shape us, they shape our society, and they shape the world. So what kind of connections do we want to build? And more importantly, what kind of world will...
It's interesting to me how all this is unfolding, right? We know that Candace Owens supports Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, the right, people that call themselves conservatives, they will latch on to somebody like Andrew Tate because they share maybe one or two of the same belief systems. But in reality, they're anything but a conservative. So apparently now Andrew Tate is a conservative because he supports Trump. Okay, just because you support Trump doesn't make you an actual conservative. Conservatism as a whole is a lot more than just supporting Donald Trump. I think it goes a lot deeper than that. But to many people on the right, there is the extreme right. There's no one like, to me, I think Candace Owens is on the extreme end at the moment. Same with Andrew Tate and quite a few others, Nick Fuentes being another one. You got all these people that seem to be on the extreme fringes of the right. You can't really reason with them, especially when it comes to Israel, because they've made up their mind, and that's it. Andrew Clavin, who I've forgiven, by the way. If you haven't seen that video, I encourage you to watch it. The problem with arguing with anti-Semites is that they are genuinely as stupid as bricks. They say Christ is king and America first, then make excuses for Iran's government of radical Islamists dedicated to U.S. destruction. They think Gentiles are tormented and persecuted Jews in one nation after another. So they must be something wrong with. So there must be something wrong with Jews, right? Really, Sherlock? They're not even smart enough to be feckless clowns. Jews are less than 3% of our population, have made amazing contributions in science, industry, finance, and entertainment. And that's not even mentioning the bagels. Oh, the bagels. And while Jews have their evildoers, just like everyone else, the anti-Semitic conspiracy theorists about Nagasaki, the Bolsheviks, Leo Frank, are truly the work of semi-literate morons. I know they like to flood social media with ugly garbage. It's all they've got. But paying attention to them lowers your IQ more than fluoride and doesn't even help your teeth. Best to leave them play with themselves. And that's what got Candace Owens her knickers in a bunch, because Candace goes, as always, very interesting sentiments coming from the Daily Wire. Thank you for sharing with us all. Hope you are well. And thank you for re-upping this most crucial conversation about Christ is King almost exactly a year later, and once again during the season of Lent. After a year of thoughtfulness, I want you to know that I'll never stop declaring it. Of course. And then Britta goes, nobody asked you to stop declaring Christ as king. And your insinuation here is uncharitable. He's responding to a spike in anti-Jew rhetoric, not attacking because it's Lent. The coincidence that it is Lent at the moment. And there happens to be a ton of Jew hate at the moment, as well as Christian hate too. So lots of people in the comment section go, are you effing retarded? This is Candace Owens. Jesus is the king of whom? The king of whom, Candace? Candace is running away. We don't say Christ is king because we hate Jews. We say it because he is. Nobody's telling Candace to stop saying Christ is king, but nevertheless, you should be very careful with how you use it. Seth Dillon goes, this is an abuse of Christianity, a co-opting of Christianity. No one who finds this objectionable is guilty of attacking Christianity. On the contrary, we're defending it. This person goes, F the Jews, Christ is king. That what you would consider to be like hateful. And by the way, don't use Christ's name when you are attacking or trying to cause harm to another group of people, especially one that Christ is actually king of the Jews. James Lindsay goes, Christ is king can be a statement of faith, but it also can be used abusively by people who want to hide behind faith while being jerks. We all know this, but there's evidence too. Just Candace Owens. Yeah. So as a falsehood, like Candace Owens is doing at the moment, and using God's name in vain, guess what God's going to do? They will ultimately destroy themselves. That's the way it goes. So at the end of the day, while I'm continuously criticizing Candace Owens, and I think it's right to do so, at the end of the day, God's like, she's going to destroy herself. I didn't say it. God said it. Anyway, that's enough from me, but you guys take care. You be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.